Hello, I'm James Harvey, the professor of music theory at the College of Southern Nevada with 5-Minute Music Theory. We'll start the timer and we're going to cover the third of 3 types of imperfect authentic cadences. This one otherwise known as the leading tone IAC. Since we've used C major for all the other examples, we may as well do the same thing. And as you might figure, the leading tone IAC has some sort of a leading tone involved. So the leading tone, I'll write it before I say it, IAC. So instead of a dominant chord specifically, we're going to have some sort of a leading tone chord resolving into a tonic. Now remember, the leading tone triad cannot be presented in root position. So there's 2 ways that we can get around this. This would not be acceptable in this situation for a couple of reasons. I covered it before, so I don't want to go over it again. The leading tone chord could be fixed here by putting a 7th on it, which would make it into a half diminished quality, or even more commonly, we can invert it into first inversion. In fact, that's what we're going to do here. We do need to be careful, though. Remember, we can't double the leading tone, so wherever we put it, we have to be wary of that so that we make sure that we don't double the leading tone. So in this chord, D is going to be the bass, and I'm going to put the B here on purpose because here's where we would have great intentions but might not end up getting the situation correctly written here. What we're going to try to do is get a nice appropriate savoy doubling here, but the problem is that that would be doubling the leading tone. So I can't do a traditional spoy doubling here, so I might be able to get away with doing this, doubling the soprano and the alto. Let's see. So what we have left in this chord is an F, and if we do that, we can double it this way, but that's a lot of space between those 2 notes. So let's go, instead of our S doubling in that situation, let's go to a B doubling, a bass doubling, which is going to be the D, and then that leaves us with an F, and that's a much more well-spaced chord. Either one is going to work, but this one presents fewer problems that we need to solve. The next chord is going to be a tonic. It could be a tonic in root position or in inverted. It would still be a leading tone IAC because whenever there's a leading tone involved, it's always going to be considered a leading tone IAC. I'm going to try to resolve that B to the C there because that is our leading tone. And now I see a lot of parallel motion, so I need to make sure that I'm checking for any sort of objectionable parallels. And I do have something that is a little bit troublesome here, or at least appears to be. So what we have there in the inner voices, we have a B to an F, which is a 5th, but it's a diminished 5th, moving in parallel to a C and a G, which is a perfect 5th. So we have diminished 5th to a perfect 5th. If you remember, we covered this in an earlier video. This is unequal 5ths, and unequal 5ths are acceptable in every situation except for when going from diminished to perfect involving the bass. That's not happening here. We are fine. Although it looks to be a problem, it actually is not a problem. We have written a leading tone IAC as long as this is happening in a cadential situation where we have a moment of rest. Thank you.